Lora has a tremendous miracle story to tell. She was involved in an accident in which a tanker truck full of gasoline hit her.
When he hit it, the car just went kerboom, and it was immediately engulfed in flames. And I sat there and I wondered, how am I going to get out of here? All I could see was flames. There was no escape route. So there was nothing to do but open the driver's door and try to get out of there. But the driver's door wouldn't open. So I scooted across the seat to go out the passenger door. And as I did, the passenger door wouldn't open. So that's when I asked God for help, because I didn't think my family would be able to take my being burned alive in a car. So with that, the thought comes to me that I was going to have to go out the window. And so as I got my knees up under me up onto the seat and rolled the window down and closed my eyes and held my breath, there's a split second that I can't account for. And in that split second, I was from the car to about 15 feet away from the car, on the ground on my hands and knees. And there happened to have been a freelance photographer standing there taking pictures, and I asked him for a ride to the hospital, and he was interested in taking pictures, and he said that a call had gone in and there was supposed to be an ambulance on the way. Well, I walked on up the road, and eventually the 5th police officer that went by stopped and turned around, picked me up, and hauled me to the hospital. I had known him for 25 years, and he had known me, but he didn't recognize me. I can remember when I got in the hospital, and by the time my husband finally got up there, I asked him if the next day if he wouldn't bring the camera up. And he said, "What in the world for?" And I said, "So you can take pictures of me." And he says, "What for? You don't know what you look like." And I says, "Well, that's the idea of it." I says, "Take pictures now, because when this is all over with down the road, people will not understand how badly I was burned, and they won't know really what happened unless they can see the pictures." I call these pictures my witnessing tool. After spending 3 weeks in the hospital, they let me come home from the hospital for the weekend, and while I was home that weekend, the wee hours of Monday morning, I was laying in bed talking to the Lord, and I asked him, I'll back up here a minute. Actually, in my talk with him, I told him that I thought someplace in the Bible that it said, if you had faith the size of a mustard seed, you could move mountains. And I also told him my faith was not near the size of a mustard seed, but if he would just heal my face to give me a sign that everything was going to be okay, I was going to come out of this in good shape. And my mind kind of wandered, and the next thing I knew, I felt this intense heat come across one side of my face very slowly. I got over the left-hand side, then I had a stinging sensation like stitches being put in, down to the middle of my chin, and then the most indescribable feeling washed completely through my body. And by the time that feeling had washed down to about my knees, I just kind of wanted to reach down and grab a hold of it and pull it right back up over me. But of course it traveled on out through my feet, and I just was in awe. He had healed me. And I told him, well, gee, then I wouldn't look in the mirror until come morning. That's how strong my faith was going to be. And of course, the next morning at 6 o'clock, first thing I did was out of bed and right to the nearest mirror. And I stood there and looked in the mirror, and I looked the same as I did the night before when I went to bed. I couldn't see where anything had changed. And I told him that I didn't know. I didn't understand it. I really didn't know what I expected, but apparently it wasn't what I was seeing, was not what I was expecting. But I told him I accepted the healing, and I knew that I knew that I knew that everything would be okay. So I just went on about my business, went back to the hospital, went back in for the debridement procedure one more time. And when I came out of there, my face was completely healed. Not my hands or my arms or my shoulders, but my face was completely healed. And prior to my going back into the hospital, they had planned on doing skin grafts, is what they was wanting to do when I went back. So I actually spent about 3 weeks, all told. The Lord is alive and well, and still in the miracle business.